joining the virtual stage from all over the globe. This is a panel on privacy in DeFi, a very important subject that I'm greatly looking forward to. So we've had a little shuffle in the moderator and all kinds of stuff going on with this panel, but we have the main players here right now with us. And I'm just going to jump out of here and let you guys hash it out and talk about this important subject. Good luck, guys, and take.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for introduction. So actually, then again, the switch in the moderators. I will try to be that one. I like that the preparation which come from like Jack, and we will just like keep in the same direction. So on this panel we will have like 3 like privacy gigs in this direction. I will have like very brief introduction. What do I know about you guys? And then if you will want, you can just add a couple more words about yourself. So the first one is like Reuben Yap, project steward at Zcoin. As I know, Reuben, you're like with Zcoin from the beginning, like since 2016. And like Reuben based in Malaysia, in very close to me. Then Brian Condenanza, CTO of Bidao. So Bidao builds decentralized finance and own multi-collateral based stablecoins. As I know, you like integrated several different blockchains and use them as collaterals. And Brian based in Argentina, right? Correct?
Yeah, we are actually based in Germany, but yeah, I was originally from Argentina, yeah. So.
Okay, you're from Argentina. Okay, cool. And then the third panelist, it's myself. I'm Andrey. I'm project lead at Incognito. And basically we build a privacy tool for public ledgers, like for Bitcoin and for decentralized application. I do this like development for the last 2 years. And I'm based in Vietnam. So basically we are like with Reuben in Southeast Asia and part of the Europe. And yeah, like very like quick intro why I think that this panel can be like really interesting, because firstly it focuses on privacy for DeFi. And 3 of us, we actually doing very different research and development in this direction. While Reuben focus on privacy on default, privacy first ecosystem, when whatever you do with your crypto, like on default confidential, like Brian is doing DeFi, which is like pseudo anonymous, which is privacy, non-privacy, some kind of more, I would say compared to Reuben is like more like public ledgers.
Yeah, sure.
And myself, I'm somewhere between you guys. I try to sit on both chairs and trying to do like 2 things. Yeah, so just 1 minute for everyone for a quick intro, and then we will just start the panel.
Sure, Brian, do you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, I think privacy in DeFi, like you say, is very interesting for people. We get so many requests in those things, those topics, and people ask many questions about it. And I think it's a space that is going to be, to have a lot of different things that are coming up in terms of legislation, different jurisdictions that people don't, it's something very new as well. So it's not regulated pretty much in any part of the world, I would say, DeFi. And like you say, I think it's also very important in the crypto space. Privacy, I think, is one of the things that people value the most in the blockchain space, and that most crypto users are interested on. So I think, people will really like it. Yeah.
Should I go first, then, Andrey?
Yeah. Please.
So I think, like right now, I mean, almost all the DeFi stuff is happening on Ethereum now. I don't think anyone can doubt that. And it actually really highlights the lack of privacy in DeFi right now, because Ethereum is a account-based type of model. So you just look up an address, and most people would have done every single thing with that single MetaMask address or something, and you can see all the tokens they bought, what they've done, all the different smart contract interactions. And for the moment, while DeFi is still kind of nascent, like, it may not be as big a problem as people think it is. Oh yeah, pseudonymity is okay. But I think as we go down the further, there's a lot of risks, not just, you can even like front run people, when I'm trying to do something on Uniswap, I see that order in, I can front run because I see everything, right? And I do think that right now, there are very limited, ways to protect privacy in DeFi. Of course, Andrey has a solution that solves, I guess, one part of it, which I guess is the source of the funds and where they come out. But the actual interactions themselves are still pretty much public for most cases. So I do think, so just a bit of context, I'm not from a DeFi chain. I'm from my own, like a cryptocurrency with our own privacy technology. Of course, we're also looking to integrate into DeFi. So it's more of like we are a privacy coin wanting to be part of DeFi, especially with, the DEXs, the decentralized loans, which we find really exciting, and especially as a privacy coin where there's so much risk with centralized exchanges. DeFi does really provide, a lot of promise there. And I guess we're all trying to marry both the privacy and DeFi space together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we will talk like a little bit later about the exchanges as well and this kind of issue. And so from my point, I just add like 2 cents that I just learned like several months ago about the thing which calls like privacy paradox. Is when people claim that privacy is important and they actually like truly like believe in this, but they give up with their privacy if they have like very nice and user-friendly application, and they're ready to give up or forget. And this is quite so. It's topic. I think its topic can be this discussion like for forever. And so coming back to the cryptocurrency, like the first of like the prepared questions, which left like from previous moderator is really quite like interesting, because it basically this kind of question probably should divide our opinions. But let's see. Like privacy in blockchain and privacy in crypto, like is it a feature or product? Like from your point of view, and like should it be like the whole covered ecosystem as like Zcoin, or it should be like some kind of like feature which can be added on top of like incognito, for example?
Sure.
Reuben, maybe you first, because
you can go first and then we'll go.
Yeah. You're in the privacy space longer than anyone.
I actually think that there's no reason both can coexist. It can be a feature. It can also be a product, right? I mean, of course, I think many people have read that Multi-Coin Capital post, which says that, privacy first coins have no place in it. And it's actually pretty misinformed. It actually misunderstands a lot of things. A lot of I probably wouldn't go too deep into that. But I think the basic idea is that, if we are a standalone product that protects privacy, we can gear all our features to do that, because privacy does not come free. It comes with additional computational costs. It comes with, additional sizing. And there are many, many other things that you need to factor in, like not just on the transaction layer. I need to think about, how am I going to protect the metadata, the network layer? And I think that a coin that, like, if I just want to transact, if I just want a currency, like just the pure version of cryptocurrency, and I want it in a private way, then, I feel that, yes, this is a privacy coin that you can just use like that without thinking so much, and don't have to interact with this and that contract. And I do think there is definite value there, because we can just gear everything towards privacy. Now, I think that privacy as a feature is also really important. Like, Ethereum has ways, Incognito has ways to do things where you want to keep certain stuff private. It may not be as private as a coin that has pure privacy, like full privacy, but at least you want to kind of like deter like casual observers. You want to hide certain things. So I don't think there's an inherent disconnect between the two. It's just, people in this world like to be binary yes or no when everything is actually kind of in between. So that's my point of view.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I think, it can be both. It can be, there are products that should be all privacy and ones that can be in between. Like you say, you don't have to, have that much privacy if you are going to be just a normal users that you just want to buy some things here and there. For the most part, probably you don't need that. And I think for the most, there is a big number of users that probably don't need that, simply don't need privacy functions because they are not, for example, they are not exposed, or they just, they don't care, or they have, very limited amount, or for different reasons that they just don't care. But I think, it's very good to have, privacy products as well. I think they are really important, and that, I think they will always be there anyways with any kind of regulations that you may have or anything, they will always jump on, and, there will be always, privacy products that I think are really important, and people will always use them. So I think it really has a value on it. And I think as a feature also has a lot of value as well. And I think it's really important to build on it if you can, because it's something that you are building also for the future and for the next few years. And you also don't know much about, what is the legislation going to be like, or, what is the landscape going to be like, or if you want to make a change in the future or things like that. So I think that's why it's also important to have it as a feature. But I think, both are really important. I think users like them both, and users mostly care about, functionalities, I would say, for the most part. But I really think it's really, really important to have, products that are like all privacy, I think that, those ones have a lot of value, I think, for users.
To be honest, guys, I thought that we will have like different.
No,
opinions.
I actually don't agree with everything that Brian says. I mean, like, we say that we're just doing like transactions. Who cares about it? I mean, I understand where's that coming from, and the reason. I mean, like, the common idea is like give people what they want, right? But I do think that most people should at least have a basic expectation of privacy, because right now we're all giving up data without actually knowing what we're giving up. I think when many of us were using Facebook and stuff like that, we didn't know what our data was being used for. We just thought, oh yeah, what's wrong with putting a couple of photos, couple of that, until it starts getting creepy, until it starts getting Cambridge Analytica, and you're like, holy crap, they know everything about us. They can target us, and they can shift our thinking. Now, similarly with privacy coins, I think, people always like associate like, oh, I only need ultimate privacy if I'm going to do something illicit, and if I'm going to do like something dodgy. And that's very sad, because, and then you only have like this cypherpunks that are going like, privacy, privacy, privacy. And everyone's like, I have nothing to hide. I just go to the grocery store and buy stuff, right? But I do think that even if the people don't care about it, we should at least like, have at least some basic protection, so that it requires effort for me to target you, rather than just have all the data there, which is basically what Ethereum is right now. I don't need any. If I just see your address, I see everything. I know what crappy ICOs you bought, what everything. Like,
no,
it's
I think
all there.
Right now, you say there's very little privacy on any public blockchain. I would say it's really easy if you are, an investigator or something. Yeah.
I would just add like my 2 cents. I would be like in this panel, I will be like strictly pro privacy, and I would like just highlight that even if people don't feel that it's important, because not in my opinion, but in general, like the humanity doing transition in digital world, like for last 20 years, maybe 30, as like the whole time I'm on this planet. And this is the time of transition. And of course, like in this period, people people have both opinions if it's important or not, and it's normal. But on the moment, if we just take a look approximately like 10 or 20 years further, the privacy will be there. I think privacy will be on the same level as like freedom of speech, like freedom of, I don't know, being human and any kind of rights. And from my point of view, it just like level of like people's like development, or don't want to say education level, but in terms of like growing, you know, as more you dive in this, as more you understand, then you just accept this like instantly. And like interesting moment, I also very briefly mention. I found like in the crypto space, especially in Bitcoin, Ethereum, like privacy coins, majority of people who join crypto space, they actually start learning this from Bitcoin, I would say, because like the most famous coin, and there's a lot of information and a lot of teachers, blah blah blah. And of course, when people join first time, they have no idea like how it works, and they have no idea is it like private or public, and so on and so on. And then when like this user or this person educate themselves, when they understand how it works, when they understand like potential problems, maybe I'm pretty sure that everyone or almost everyone in crypto space like was like scammed, like a little, at least a little bit, but something like this. Then when you experience all this stuff, then you start understanding. And this is what I mean when I'm saying like growing up in crypto space. Yeah, okay, let's go to the next question. And this time we will start with Brian. So again, right, in this point, we fixed that probably privacy is important, and as like future coming, it will going to be more important. And then like tricky question prepared by Jack previously, like, okay, if privacy is important, why then like public ledgers are indominant? And I right now, but I want to highlight the right now, because this is the current situation, and this is like the early stage. So if privacy is important, why
I'm taking off.
It's like smaller part of the market? Yeah,
sure. So I have different theories for it. I think, I think it is like you were saying before. I think privacy is going to be, more and more important with time as well. And now I think there are two things that are bringing that up. First of all, like, governments have like more technology than ever to, track people, and, it goes to the economic factor as well. And, cryptocurrency only makes that easier in some sense. And also people are more aware of that. People are more aware that the data is going to be, exchanged or stored somewhere, and that, that there are going to be people looking at it. So I think there are those two things of why, privacy is really important right now, and why people care about it, and why they are going to be caring more about it. I think, pretty much every year I would say, I feel like people care more about it. And like you say, at the beginning, I guess, when you get into Bitcoin, you are like, well, nobody knows who is whom, but then, you start getting more into it, and you find that there is not that much privacy on the, pretty much public blockchains, I would say. So, like you say, the demand for it will keep growing. I think my opinion of why has not taken off yet. I think, first of all, I think it took off for many coins. I think they are very popular right now. Some privacy coins are really popular. I think people always keep looking at the price also, and that's maybe why it's not, maybe why people think it's not that popular, but I think it is. And also, it's going to keep growing, in my opinion. And at some point, it will be probably, you have like some privacy coin in the top 5, for example, of the top crypto. I don't know when, but I think it's going to happen, because in my opinion, it's going to be, for example, like, Bitcoin is going to be the digital gold, I would say. And then you have digital cash that may be some privacy coin, mostly because I think it's the kind of the equivalent of the cash in our real world, basically. And some people will want that for transactions and different things. And so I think the demand for it will keep growing, even if you have any changes or not, or if you have, I think a number of users may grow exponentially, and it keeps growing. And Reuben may have more info than me on that, but I'm sure it keeps growing every year. So yeah, I think I think maybe we're still early on it, but I think it's gonna take off.
So Reuben, why privacy part of the market is so small still?
I think we have to embrace one thing that is very clear is that cryptocurrencies right now is still it's a big dream, I don't think it's achieved anywhere the adoption that people have, think about it, and right now it is primarily a speculative vehicle for many things. We're attracted by the promise of what it offers, but most people are in it to make their Lambos and stuff like that. I think we have to admit that. Now, if you're talking about privacy coins with adoption, of course everyone will talk about Monero, right? But even then, like, you would think that Monero being the number one privacy coin in market cap right now should be widely used in the darknet markets, should be widely used in all this other type of illicit activity, but they aren't. The darknet markets maybe accept it a little bit, but for the vast majority of transactions in the darknet, they're still going for Bitcoin. And even if you take a look at ransomware, that's perfect. Of course, now recently there's like one ransomware that accepts Monero, right? And I think the idea is that until cryptocurrency becomes like a valid form of payment, people don't really care. It's just kind of seen as a speculation thing. Hackers, they're still not really being hunted down unless you're like really large size. Like, for example, like the Twitter guy, I understand that when he hacked Twitter and he didn't even use Monero, right? And that's why he got tracked down. But I do think that, first of all, now privacy isn't that easy to use. I mean, even with Zcoin, we're still working on the UI, we're still working on the process flow. There are additional steps that you need to do. And even Monero didn't have a GUI for many years. I mean, that's the reality of it. Zcash, there's this other thing that you need to shield. And then now you're only beginning to start to see, shielded support in many different wallets. So I do think that we're getting there, but up to where we are right now, privacy hasn't been that easy to use. So I think only kind of Monero is starting to mature and get there. But I think all of us are catching up, and I think once it becomes kind of seamless to use, that users don't really have to think about, then we're going to take off. But I mean, I don't think we need to talk about, reality. Is this the demand for the market? And right now, I mean, take a look at Tornado Cash, take a look at the Aztec protocol. There aren't hardly any users. If you use that, it's almost as if like you're transparent because there's so few people using it. So I think we have to be realistic of where we are. Not to say that there's no value in what people are doing, but we're not at that stage of the market yet. So I do think it's like, why privacy coins haven't taken off? When people start seizing your coins, when people start pointing the gun to your head, when, the tax authorities start chasing everyone, then people are like, why didn't I protect myself? So then that's the real time then people say, maybe I should have done this. Yeah.
So the answer is like time is not here. It's just beginning, right? Like, yes, I got it. Also, like Reuben, when you mentioned about the big dream, I actually probably there's like two sides of the big dream. You actually mentioned about that one when people just want to like use it in investment perspective. But I got a picture in my mind about the big dream of crypto from our side, from the people who built these like projects, who build blockchain protocols, because like the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, this is the only industry. If you build project there, you have like this kind of very big dream in your heart that your project can be like the world changing product, and this kind of, and even if like we clearly understand that like the government, they will not accept like just coin created by some startuppers from Southeast Asia, for example, from Vietnam. But still, the feeling that this can be like movement. And for example, in our case, it can be like not just a project, but privacy movement. And there will be like the whole group of people who will say, no, we like believe in this system, and this is where we go. And I just got this picture when you just were saying about the dream. Probably there's two types of dreams and two types of like blockchain people on the market. So let's move to the next question. Next question. It's actually also related and quite interesting about like trust and decentralization in general. So basically, like the biggest stable coin is centralized right now. So the biggest like pledged Bitcoin on Ethereum, like WBTC, is also centralized, and like people use it. And I remember like a couple of years ago there was just only discussion about these dreamers about decentralization, that everything will be decentralized. But decentralized, it's same way difficult as privacy, especially when you're talking about the blockchain, which not supports smart contracts. So, and the question is, what do you guys think about same thing? So, are people ready to give up this idea of decentralization because of convince, or the decentralization is still matters? Maybe who, like Reuben, you turn on mic first, so you go first.
Okay. So you're saying what is there still point in pursuing decentralizing? Again, I mean, this is a very lawyer answer. I mean, I was a lawyer for 10 years. It's a spectrum, right? Because you have the purists where everything needs to be decentralized. I remember when I was talking to the green people, they're like, we're not going to insert any sort of checkpoints, even if it means we get 51% attack. Like, to me, that sounds like kind of ridiculous. I mean, like, if you're going to have a reop of 2 weeks or 1 month or so, you'll say, oh yeah, it's working as intended for decentralization. I mean, I do think that there has to be a balance between functionality and decentralization. And the idea that it should be decentralized enough, right? And obviously, if we're trying to do things that kind of like challenge the existing system, like for example, start a new cryptocurrency or like start a new like stable coin, if you don't want to go through the regulatory hoops or some things that will never go past the regulation, you will need to have, maximum decentralization, because you don't want to have any single point of failure where a government can come and try and shut you down. Of course, where things like that are not so important, you just need to be decentralized enough, like something like Libra, right? You have a federated group of people. It will be decentralized enough for most use cases. Like, I just want to transact. I trust this group of companies, and hopefully they won't abuse my data. Of course, that's a different question. But, with centralization comes greater performance. I mean, you've seen all this, chains, this blockchains, level 1 change saying that, we get like 50,000, 100,000 TPS or something like that. And then you realize, it's only four servers. Yeah, obviously it's going to have faster TPS. There is always like a trade-off between decentralization and usability. So I do think that, again, there's no right answer. It depends what you need it for. If you just need to do like supply chain tracking thing, well, you don't need decentralized. You just need like a couple of federated servers. That's good enough. But if you're trying to really like challenge the system or do something, that really like, will face like massive kickbacks, then you do need massive decentralization. And I think Bitcoin was in that stage, when it was like still growing and before like governments could like crash it down, and not having a founder, not having like a centralized thing made it a lot harder to stop. And I do think that was one of the like importance of decentralization there, but we shouldn't be too religious about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to that. I think when you have those stable coins, at some point you're probably not maybe giving up privacy at the moment, or I think you're going to maybe give up more in the future. I mean, there are going to be regulations on it, I'm sure, for some of the stable coins or maybe some kind of some kind of thing that you will have to do to redeem the tokens or something like that, maybe in the future for some of the coins that are, for example, US based or something like that. I think is for that, I'm thinking it's going to happen. It's hard to know what's going to happen with the regulation, but I believe it will happen. And I think it's also important that those kind of stablecoins, those kind of projects that work, that kind of they should have some kind of relationship with some governments or with some things like that, because it's it kind of helps with that. I know that many people in crypto hate that, and they don't want that, and they don't want any kind of talk to anyone and stuff like that is not in the industry, that they don't get it. But I think it's important, to have that conversation, to kind of start talking to them. We're trying to do that with some public policy groups and things like that. So, I think it really varies from the strategy of every project, and some may do it, some may not. But I think it is going to happen either way. Either way, if you have a stablecoin that is US, that is based in the US, for example, then it's going to happen. Then you're going to have some kind of regulation, even if not now, to at least redeem the tokens, or for example, USDC. They are like US based. It's based in a US account. They have in the US account, they have US dollars. I mean, the thing is pretty much centralized to, very extent to it. And at some point they will want to know who are the users, or maybe, the bigger ones or something like that. But I mean, I believe it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be the same thing like in 4 years or 3 years in the future. I think it's something may happen in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rise of CBDC, so central bank digital currencies, like the DCEP from China and stuff like that, and they are quite aggressive at pushing things like this. Obviously, stable coins are challenging them, right? And I foresee there's going to be a battle between the existing stable coins and the new CBDCs. And that's why I do think that, private stable coins is something that's really interesting. I guess Andrey's product probably does that. We're also looking into stuff like that. But obviously, right now, I think USDT has a blacklist. USDC has a blacklist. Only DAI doesn't really have a blacklist, but it's still kind of, I would say it's kind of weak. You can probably crash the system if you are state level government, especially with the way it works, and we definitely need some sort of uncensorable form of stable coin. But who knows, maybe we shouldn't be looking at US dollars as stable. I mean, it's been declining in value and they've been printing tons of it, right?
Yeah, lately, I don't know. They may do something.
Actually, guys, it's quite interesting because your answers, because if it's centralized, why then we shouldn't use just normal bank account or mobile banking platform? Because we have 1 minute, but very brief example. I tried to pitch stable coins and cryptocurrency to one of my friends, and he got afraid in the moment when I told that if you lose your private key, you will not have access to this. And he say, okay, then why shouldn't I use my bank account? So that he feels safer, and he knows that he will lose it anyway. And this is the point related to the centralized stablecoins. If they control it anyway, it's like the company which control the whole supply, but it gives you the all responsibility for the wallet and for the money things. So from this point of view, it sounds like the banking system, they just give up responsibility, and they just keep the control, and then the user are responsible for storing the money. Very briefly, what do you think about this opinion?
Yeah, no, I think it's like that, absolutely. And I think that's why sometimes it's because they don't want to lose their keys, or maybe they lost their keys before and they just don't want to deal with that anymore, because it's, I know some people actually that invested on it and invested on Bitcoin, for example, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and then they lost the keys and they don't have any idea of where it is, and they just lost it, and they're like, well, I just don't want to deal with this anymore. It's just complicated for me. I don't care about it. It's hard, and like you say, I think, with bank accounts, that you have that is just easy to use, and you have some kind of safety on the money. I mean, there are always, different regulations and laws about it, and, different things, but, for the most part, you're kind of safe with the money there. So you don't have to be like, sleeping, and you are like, what's going to happen with that? And it's going to be there tomorrow or not. And at the same time, with crypto, you have, all different stories like that people lose their keys, or some people that have, a lot of money on MetaMask or something like that, and they don't have, anything else, or there are different stories like that. And I think it is like that, like, I think for blockchain, it's always like, be your own bank and be, unbank yourself. But then you end up having all those things that you have to care about that I think are still kind of complicated for the most users. I think for many users, it's just hard for them to, limit their own experience to make it safe, for example, or that it's not, that they won't have any troubles with that, or that they will always have their keys. So I think you always, you have that limit there. And I think it's, it's pretty much something about what we were talking about before, about the user experience, and that issues kind of hard for many users.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so I'll just be
last minute.
Very quick.
Reuben, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, as Brian said, not everyone is ready to be your own bank, and I do think there's still importance, right? Because I mean, with a stable coin, you don't have to have a bank account, right? With CBDCs, we'll have to see whether you require a bank account. But a bank account is actually it's quite difficult. Like, for example, like a project like ours, like at Zcoin, we're not doing anything illegal. We're like doing software development for privacy, but we cannot open the bank account. It's not because it's illegal, but it's just because banks say like, we're not comfortable. And similarly, when I ran a VPN service in 2007, I was just providing privacy for people on the internet, and we were classified as high risk and stuff like that. We weren't doing anything illegal. Everything was, completely legal. But then we needed a bank account, needed all this type of thing. Stable coins actually really offer that ability to be able to store stuff without having to go through these institutions who do not want our business anyway. Of course, we have to see what happens in CBDCs and stuff like that. But I don't think that, again, doesn't mean that everyone cannot be their own bank. Some people can be their own bank, but I think the most important thing is that we have the option. We have that option to choose a different financial system, not necessarily stable coins, but cryptocurrency in general, so that if one system becomes so crap, there's an alternative waiting for us. If cryptocurrencies don't exist, they just print tons of US dollars, what are we going to turn to? At least there has to be an alternative. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I think, and that's awesome. And I think we guys live in the best ever possible time on this planet. And thank you very much for this panel. I hope we will meet someday again. Especially with Reuben, with somehow meeting all the time last month. Yeah, thank you everyone, and let's move forward. Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you.